Hello everyone, my name is Zenitsu and I'm back with another Digimon deck profile video. So today I'm going to be talking about BT-06, and BT-06 adds a lot of new and powerful cards to build some great exciting decks with. So today's deck that I'm going to be covering is going to be the red Jesmon deck. So Jesmon is looking to be a very powerful new Digimon that's acting very similar to what Lord Nightmon was doing all the way back in BT-05, where the idea is you're just going to have one unstoppable force that's going to be spawning multiple bodies, and those multiple bodies are going to be able to do lots of various things. So Jesmon is a little bit more, I guess, fair than Lord Nightmon, considering he's only limited to spawning sistermons, but the fact that each of the sistermons has their own level of utility is what makes Jesmon really powerful, on top of him actually having the backbone to close out games himself, where Lord Nightmon couldn't really do that. So, without further ado, onto the deck profile. First up, starting with the Digitamas, the surprising thing about Jesmon is the Digitama slot could really be very flexible. It doesn't necessarily matter what it's doing as long as it's just DP boosting your Digimon in some way, just because on a generic level we don't really have the ability to do much else. So I'm just choosing to run 4 copies of DemiMeramon as the main Digitama of the deck, because he has this nice condition of when attacking for his inheritable, where when this Digimon is attacking a player, then you get 1000 DP. So again, the Digitama slots don't really matter as long as they're DP boosting Jesmon, so that way he could be as strong as he possibly can. So as a result, I'm also going to be running 1 copy of Gigimon, just because Gigimon is also another really good Digitama that also can DP boost our Digimon, and he has this nice ability where during your turn, once per turn, when your opponent's Digimon is deleted, then this Digimon gains plus 2000 DP for the turn. So this is just another way of DP boosting our Digimon to ensure that our Jesmon is going to be as strong as he possibly can be, and we have various different ways in the deck to delete our opponent's Digimon to try to get this ability off. Next, on to the rookies, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Hackmon. So Hackmon is going to be the deck's dedicated digger, and what I mean by digger is usually diggers have this on-play ability, where you get to check either the top 3 or the top 5 cards, and then you get to add up to 1 or 2 cards from among a particular type among them into your hand, and then the rest go to the bottom. So the fact that Hackmon is looking at the top 5 and selecting up to 2 Digimon with either Hackmon, Jesmon, or Sistermon in their name is looking to be really good, because that's just what the core synergy of the deck is going to be centered around, is just utilizing our Hackmons, Jesmons, and Sistermons. So the fact that we have a digger just helps with the overall consistency of the deck, making him a really good card. Next, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Agumon. So this is the starter deck version of Agumon, well, I guess the first red starter deck version, and what this card is doing is he has a very nice inheritable ability where during your turn, this Digimon gets plus 1000 DP. There's no special requirements or conditions attached to it, it's just for utilizing the card, he gets to give whatever Digimon you're digivolving into plus 1000 DP, and that's really good, just ensuring we have a very easy way of making our Digimon as strong as they possibly can be. Next, I'm going to be running 3 copies of Guillemon. So this is kind of a flex spot of the deck. It doesn't necessarily have to be Guillemon. I just like what the starter deck version of Guillemon is doing, because we're mostly going to be using him for his inheritable ability, where his inheritable ability states during your turn, once per turn, when your opponent's Digimon is deleted, then you get to draw 1 card. So this is really good because it's acting as a bit of a draw engine for the deck, ensuring that we can get through our deck as quickly as we possibly can be, and we do have multiple ways of deleting the opponent's Digimon, us being in red, so this ability can be a very powerful ability to be utilizing, just because red doesn't have a whole lot of built-in card draw outside of the fact that you're going to be digivolving a lot. So Guillemon is looking to be pretty good for that, but on top of that, he also has the added utility of having a really solid native ability, where during your turn, while the opponent has a level 6 or higher Digimon in play, then we get to digivolve this Digimon into a Gallantmon from our hand for only costing 4 memory, and ignoring the rest of its Digivolution requirements. So this is really powerful because it allows us to literally go from a level 3 to a level 6 for very little to no effort, and that allows us to use multiple different gallantmons because we do have a couple of different gallantmons we could be playing around with. So each of the gallantmons has their own pros and cons, and we could really start utilizing and customizing the deck based on some of the other support cards that we're going to be using. But the fact that Guillemon and Gallantmon is just such a very strong little package that we could be running with the deck makes Guillemon really good, especially since Gallantmon is going to be a Royal Knight, and we do know that the Sistermons are going to be interacting with Royal Knights. But again, this is just a flex spot, and it doesn't necessarily have to be Guillemon, and you don't even have to be running Gallantmon if you don't feel like you need to. But speaking of our Sistermons, the last rookie of the deck is going to be 3 copies of Sistermon Blanc. So Sistermon Blanc is, for all intents and purposes, not really a rookie that we're going to be utilizing as a normal rookie. So we can't Digivolve on top of her because she is a white Digimon, but she's still a very powerful Digimon to be using in this deck because of all of her synergy with all of our cards. So what she's doing is she has a nice ability where during all turns, while we have a Digimon with Hackmon in its name or a Royal Knight in its type, then all of our Digimon with Sistermon in their names gain the blocker ability. So this is really good already just because she just is acting as a form of defense for us literally just playing the deck the way the deck wants to be played by using a lot of Hackmon and Royal Knight synergy. And then on top of that, she also has a nice on-play ability where we get to draw 1 card. So literally just for playing her or having her come into play, then we're going to be drawing a card. And again, red has this huge lack of just natural card draw outside of evolution. So the fact that we have an additional way to try to help us draw cards is looking to be really, really good. Next, on to the champions, I'm going to be running 2 copies of Monochromon. So Monochromon is going to be the deck's dedicated blocker, and having a blocker is still usually a pretty good idea, just because it allows us to have some form of defense against the opponent's aggression. And Monochromon is also really good just because he is a very tempo-efficient blocker, so if we need to, we could utilize the fact that he only evos for 1 to either tempo up into a blocker really quickly and efficiently, or just use him as a solid stepping stone to get to our higher stages that much more faster than what the opponent might be anticipating. So all of that utility is just what makes Monochromon really, really good. It is unfortunate that he does have only 5,000 DP, making him susceptible to a lot of forms of removal, especially now that we're in BT-06, so you do have to keep that in mind, but regardless, he is still just looking to be a pretty good card. Next, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Bao Hakman. So Bao Hakman is looking to be pretty good because he's, well, another Hackmon, so he has all of that Hackmon synergy with all of our Sistermons, and on top of that, he also has this really good inheritable ability where it's a when attacking ability once per turn. If we have a Digimon with Sistermon in its name in play, then we get to delete one of the opponent's Digimon with 5,000 or less DP. So this is just a really good way of having some solid form of removal that we could then combo with Guillemon to try to draw cards with. So it's just looking to be a pretty good card on top of the fact that 5,000 DP is the stat line where a lot of these one-costed blockers are sitting at. So you could use that against the opponent to ensure that your Hackmon is going to basically be unblockable. So all of that together is just making Bao Hakman look really, really appealing to be used inside of the deck. Next, I'm going to be running 3 copies of Greymon. So this is the starter deck version of Greymon, and this card is still really good just because he has this nice generic inheritable ability of just giving whatever Digimon he digivolves into security attack +1. So this is really good because security attack +1 just allows us to deal even more damage onto the opponent's security, and because we're in red, we have multiple different ways of stacking and utilizing the fact that we could deal lots of damage relatively quickly to try to help pressure and close out games that much faster than what the opponent might be ready for. And then the last champion of the deck is going to be 3 copies of Sistermon Ciel. What Sistermon Ciel is doing is she is a 4-costed white champion, so we can't really utilize her like a normal champion because we can't digivolve on top of her and we can't digivolve her into something, so she does have her limited usage there, but she's still looking to be really good because she has this nice ability where during all turns, all of your Digimon with Hackmon in their name or Royal Knight in their types get plus 2,000 DP. So her literally just sitting on the field will increase our Digimon's DP by 2000, and that's quite a lot of DP, and the fact that this also goes off on the opponent's turn is making Ciel look very, very strong, on top of the fact that she also has a nice on-play ability of allowing us to gain a memory, so she's not really costing 4, she's usually going to be costing 3, and if we're playing her for free off of some of our various other abilities, then she could even help gain us a memory, and that's just looking to be very, very powerful to be using, because Red also doesn't have a lot of ways of manipulating the memory, so Ciel is looking to be a pretty good card for all of those purposes. Next, on to the ultimates, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Volcdramon. So Volcdramon is looking to be pretty good for basically all of the same reasons why Greymon is really good. It just has the nice generic inheritable ability of giving whatever Digimon he digivolves into security attack +1. So just for those same reasons why Greymon is good is why Volcdramon is good, just one stage higher. And then the last ultimate of the deck is going to be 4 copies of SaviorHuckmon. So SaviorHuckmon is looking to be a very powerful Digimon to be using for this deck for a whole bunch of different reasons. The first big reason is the fact that he's a Hackmon and he has all of the Hackmon synergies, and then he has 2 very powerful abilities, one native to him and one as an inheritable. So the ability that's native to him is a when digivolving ability. We get to play one Digimon with Sistermon in its name from our hand for free. So this is really good because it's a level 5 that's essentially spawning another body. Even though we can't utilize that body to digivolve into something else, it's still very powerful because the bodies are also doing very powerful things on their own. So if we play Ciel off of SaviorHuckmon, then Ciel will gain us a memory for her on-play ability, basically making SaviorHuckmon Evo for 2 instead of 3, which is really tempo efficient, and that's just really powerful, on top of the fact that Ciel will also boost SaviorHuckmon by 2000 during all turns, so he could swing for 7000 on his own, 9000 with Ciel, and with the help from either of our Digitamas or other rookies, he could hit even higher as a level 5. So that's just looking to be very, very powerful just from using Ciel, and then if we choose to use Blanc, then we get to draw an extra card, and that's just looking to be pretty good because it helps with the overall consistency of the deck, because we're also going to be drawing for just evolving into SaviorHuckmon, and then on top of that, Blanc is also going to be a blocker because she is interacting with Hackmon. So that's just looking to be pretty good, spawning a blocker or spawning an extra card to help boost SaviorHuckmon. It doesn't necessarily matter, just playing a Sistermon is looking to be very, very powerful, on top of the fact that he also has a nice inheritable ability, which is a native ability helps set up, where it's a when attacking inheritable ability of once per turn. If you have a Digimon with Sistermon in its name in play, then we get to unsuspend this Digimon. So unsuspending is a very powerful ability already to be playing around with, because that means we could use it offensively and defensively. The most ideal situation is we're going to be using it offensively to just get an additional attack off, and because we have multiple instances of different ways of gaining security attack plus, it's looking to be very, very powerful because it allows us to break a lot of the opponent's security all in one turn, if not the potential to break all of their security all in one turn, depending on the other types of cards that you're supporting it with. But the fact that we do get the multi-attack potential off of SaviorHuckmon is looking to be very, very powerful as a whole. Next, on to the Megas, I'm going to be running 4 copies of Jesmon. So Jesmon is going to be the main Mega of the deck, and he's looking to be a very powerful Mega with all of the types of supports and synergies we could line up with him. So what's making him so strong is the fact that he has 2 abilities. He has a when attacking ability and one that just triggers during your turn. His when attacking ability states that you may play a Digimon with Sistermon from your hand or trash for free. So that's the whole Lord Nightmon type interaction, where he just is going to swing and spawn an extra body, and the extra body could also come from the trash. So if our Sistermons do get deleted, or we have to discard them, or some way they end up in the trash from the security attack, it doesn't necessarily matter. The fact that we could just consistently replay our Sistermons is looking to be very, very good, because we'll also get their on-play effects on top of their other benefits. So just being able to play Sistermons for free is already really strong, and then on top of that, he also has another ability where during your turn once per turn, when you play another Digimon, then this Digimon gets plus 3000 DP and piercing for the turn. So his first ability is comboing with the second ability, where you're going to attack, spawn a Sistermon, then the Sistermon is going to do her thing, and then we also have Jesmon to do his thing, where we played another Digimon, so he's going to end up being 14k with piercing during our turn, if not higher, and because of all of the different types of inheritables we could be building him up with, we can make it for a very strong Digimon where he could swing multiple times with Security Attack Plus that will also help us draw a card or have even higher DP. So there's just a lot of different ways to build his stack to make him a very powerful and very efficient Digimon to be using as a whole, all culminating in why Jesmon is so strong. And then the other level 6 of the deck is going to be 2 copies of Gallantmon. So this is the starter deck version of Gallantmon. If you wanted to, you could use a BT-02 version of Gallantmon. It doesn't necessarily matter. I just like what the starter deck version of Gallantmon is doing because it's essentially acting very similar to what Jesmon is doing. So what this card is doing is he is just already relatively efficient to evo up into. So if we do need to evo all the way up into him and we can't necessarily warp, then he's looking to be a pretty tempo efficient card, just because he evos for 3, and on top of that he has the nice Security Attack +1 ability, so he's already going to be hitting for an additional security check, taking out a lot of potential security off of the opponent, and on top of all of that, he even has another ability where it's a when attacking ability, we get to delete one of the opponent's Digimon with 4000 DP or less, and then if this effect doesn't delete a Digimon, then it gains plus 3000 until the end of the turn instead. So he also can swing for potentially 14,000 onto the opponent's security with Security Attack +1, paired up with any of our other inheritables is already looking to be pretty powerful. And we don't necessarily need Jesmon in order to trigger our Sistermon's abilities, just because Gallantmon is also a Royal Knight, and we do have SaviorHuckmon to be able to play our Sistermons to try to trigger their abilities off, and to get multiple swings off with SaviorHuckmon. So it doesn't necessarily matter what mega we're using, as long as we're using a mega that's a Royal Knight, it's looking to be very, very powerful and have some good synergy with Jesmon as a whole. And then to top off our Digimon package, we have 2 copies of Omnimon. So yes, we do have Omnimon that we could play to try to help close out the game, because he has this nice when digivolving ability of unsuspending this Digimon, so that way we could actually utilize his other when digivolving ability of Blitz to attack even when the memory passes onto the opponent's turn. So the whole idea is to try to break their security as quickly as we possibly can, then just digivolve it into Omnimon and then have Omnimon swing for the game. So that's already looking to be pretty good, but if we're unable to close out the game with Omnimon, just digivolving, let's just say, our Gallantmon into an Omnimon isn't a bad thing, just because Omnimon has some built-in protection because of his other third ability, where during all turns, if an opponent's effect would delete this Digimon or return him to the hand or deck, then you could prevent him from leaving the field by trashing one of his level 6 inheritable sources. On top of the fact that he also is a Royal Knight, so if we do have our Sistermons in play, then all of our Sistermon stuff will also apply to Omnimon, thus making Omnimon a really good card to be using inside of the deck as well. Next, on to the options, I'm going to be running 2 copies of Judgment of the Blade. So Judgment of the Blade is looking to be a very powerful option card to be using, because it's also a very efficient card to be using because it has a low play cost of 1, and it has a very strong main ability where one of our Digimon with Hackmon in its name or Royal Knight in its type can attack your opponent's unsuspended Digimon this turn. So that's looking to be very, very powerful, because it actually is allowing us to interact with the opponent's Digimon, being able to delete them by attacking into them, and with Jesmon being able to give himself plus 3000 DP and piercing, means that he's going to be able to delete the Digimon more often than not, on top of dealing security damage at the same time, and even at worst, if we use this on Gallantmon or Omnimon, just being able to clear out their Digimon is still looking to be pretty good. So it doesn't necessarily matter which of our Royal Knights we could use this on. It's just looking to be a very powerful card to be using to try to remove the opponent's Digimon off the field. And then on top of that, it has a very good security ability where we get to play one Digimon with Sistermon in its name from our hand or trash for free, and then we get to add this card into our hand. So not only is it a really good removal type of ability on its main ability, but its security ability is spawning us a Sistermon, thus getting our Sistermon abilities to trigger. And we also get to add this card into our hands to use whenever we feel like we're ready. So just everything this card is doing is looking to be very, very good for what the deck is trying to accomplish. Next, I'm going to be running 2 copies of Red Memory Boost. So Red Memory Boost is a very good card that helps with the overall consistency of the deck because it has this nice main ability where we get to reveal the top 4 cards of our deck. Then we get to add 1 red Digimon among them into our hand and place the rest on the bottom in any order. So this is basically just acting as a digger, except this is on an option card, and what's making this card really, really good is the fact that it also has the delay ability. So after we use the option card, it doesn't go to the trash, it goes into the battle area for us to use whenever we feel like we need to, and its delay ability allows us to gain 2 memory so we can have a very powerful push turn when we need to, and the best time to utilize this card is as early as you possibly can. And then its security ability does allow us to be able to place this card into the battle area, so that way we could gain the 2 memory whenever we feel like we want when it's checked in the security. And then the last option is going to be 1 copy of Gaia Force. So this is kind of another flex spot. It doesn't really have to be Gaia Force, just like how Gallantmon doesn't have to be Gallantmon, and Guillemon doesn't have to be Guillemon. These are just all really good cards to be using just because they still do mesh and meld with the deck quite well, just because Gaia Force is one of the best, if not the best, removal option card we currently have in the game, because it just allows us to delete one of the opponent's Digimon as its main ability and its security ability. And then the last card of the deck is going to be the only tamer of the deck, and that's going to be 3 copies of Tai Kamiya. So Tai Kamiya is just going to be acting as the memory fixing tamer for the deck, where if our memory is ever less than 3, it's going to hard set it to 3. So that's really important because both of our megas, at least in this build, both evo for 3, so ensuring that we're starting our turn at 3 means that we could digivolve into our mega and swing in the same turn. So that's looking to be pretty powerful there. And on top of that, it also has a nice other ability where during your turn, all of your red Digimon with 4 or more Digivolution sources in it gain security attack +1. So this just allows us to deal even more damage with our Digimon just passively on a tamer if we just go from egg to mega, and that's looking to be very powerful because it helps us close out the game that much quicker. And then there's still just a ton of different things that you could do with the deck depending on what you want to focus on and some of the other types of tech and tools that you want to be using. So here's just some generically good tech and tools that you could be using. You could use a lot of the tempo efficiency cards to try to get into Jesmon as fast as you possibly can. Gaussmon is really good at shutting off the opponent from reducing their evolution. Agunimon's really good just to apply some additional pressure to try to close out the game utilizing your tamers. Then you have the other Omnimons to think about because, you know, they're Omnimons, they're all really good. You have Gravity Crush as a secret option tech just to try to gain 2 memory to have a bigger push turn. You have a Delicate Plan to utilize to try to turn off the opponent's options when you're trying to punch their security as hard as you possibly can, so that way your cards are as safe as they possibly can be. And then you even have Atomic Blaster to just act as another really decent removal card. And then you even have some other sub-packages that you could include with the deck, all depending on what you're trying to be focusing on. So if you want, you could consider using Shine Greymon because he naturally has Piercing and Security Attack +1. Those are 2 very powerful keywords, especially in combination with each other. And then if you do, you could then run Baby Demon to try to help and double down on the Piercing sub-theme, and he's going to be gaining you 2000 DP for your Digimon having Piercing. Then, if you want, you could even think about splashing in a little bit of Agumon tech, because you're already going to be running Agumon, and you're already going to be running a couple of different Greymons, so the Agumon Digger is looking to be pretty good, and we even have some other Greymons that are really good for the deck, like Siege Greymon and Rise Greymon. And then another type of support package that you could go with is a little bit more on the Gallantmon and removal type support package, where you could run the BT-02 version of Gallantmon, because if you're just trying to warp, then he just evos for 4 anyway, so it's not like you're really losing any tempo warping all the way up into this Gallantmon, and this Gallantmon's still really good, especially if you could utilize his when attacking ability recursively to just trash and delete the opponent's security. And then on top of that, you have Volcdramon to act as a really powerful level 5 if you want to start trying to aggress with your level 5s, because he has a good when attacking ability of his own, on top of a really good inheritable ability. Then if you want, you could also double down on trying to delete the opponent's Digimon by playing Greymon as another Greymon and a security Digimon, on top of the fact that you also have Growlmon to interact with deleting the opponent's Digimon by gaining you a memory, so there's some good synergy in combo play there. And we even have the new starter deck Agumon if we're just looking to try to DP boost our Digimon some more. So it doesn't necessarily matter how you build Jesmon, it's just what Jesmon is doing, and the tech and tools that he has access to are all looking to be really, really strong, and I think this is going to be one of the stronger decks that's going to be coming out of BT-06. So that's all I really have for this video. As always, feel free to tell me your thoughts down in the comments below, and down in the description below are a couple of different ways you could support me and the channel. So I do have a TCG Player affiliate link, so when you use that link to buy cards off of TCG Player, then some of that money will go to supporting me and the channel. I also do make and sell playmats over on Overcard Gamers on Facebook, so when you buy a playmat with my design, then some of that money will also go to help supporting me and the channel. And on top of all of that, I do have a Twitch account over on twitch.tv/Zenitsu, so giving me a follow and a subscription also helps support me there, and I do play Digimon on top of various other games on that platform as well. So thank you everyone for watching, and as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you in the next video.